going to be talking about today, my friends? We are going to be talking about fabric material. So I want to start off by saying that I'm starting a clothing brand. I just want to put that out there into the universe. I feel like a lot of the time when I'm trying to manifest things into my life, I say it in my head, and who's gonna hear it? Nobody but me. So I have to make it a habit to start saying things out loud. I am starting a clothing brand. Okay, I am living in Texas. I'm living in a small city, a big town in Texas, and the only fabric places that exist here are Michael's, Walmart, and Joann's. So I thought, why not look elsewhere to find my fabrics? And so I thought I should go online. I just want to talk about the pros and cons of all of the websites that I've shopped on. When I first started sourcing fabric online, I started buying fabric from Etsy and eBay. Etsy is really great. I really think Etsy is like a one-stop shop for fabric. Any fabric that you could possibly want from any country in the world, you could find it on Etsy. That's why I really liked it there, because I never really knew what I was looking for, because when I started buying fabrics, I did not know what fabric was really, like how cotton isn't a fabric and silk isn't a fabric. They're just things used to make fabric. So when we say cotton sis, bro, dude. One of the problems that I have with Etsy is the shipping price. I don't know the amount of drugs people are on. Etsy shipping is ridiculous. Etsy shipping is ridiculous. One time I bought something for $15 and the shipping was $30. And I was like, where? In what dimension? In what country? In what plane of existence does this make sense? Honestly, that is really all I have for Etsy. It's a great one-stop shop. Shipping can get ridiculous, but it's really nice because you're working, more than likely you're working with smaller businesses, so you're supporting small businesses, so small businesses supporting other small businesses. Next I want to talk about Aliexpress. We're gonna be here for a while. Aliexpress / Alibaba. I get a lot of fabrics from Alibaba / Aliexpress. Let's talk about it. Two things I want to mention about shipping. One, it takes time because it's coming from a really long distance. Two, I have had so many instances on AliExpress where just because the shipping label has been created, that means that they mark the item as shipped. It could literally still be sitting there in front of them, but they've created the shipping label, so they mark it as shipped. This really hit me one day when I ordered some beads and the beads had been shipped, marked as shipped. And then about a week later, I get a message from the seller and he's like, hey, the size of beads that you ordered is no longer available. Could you pick a different size? And I was like, what are you saying? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I was like, didn't you already ship it? Because you marked it ship a week ago. I thought this was like halfway here. And he was like, no, it's still sitting on my desk. What kind of nonsense? What kind of rubbish? What kind of... One thing I also wanted to mention about AliExpress is some of the sellers on there are really bad at updating their fabrics. There have been countless amount of times where I've ordered fabric from AliExpress and I'll pick a certain color and, you know, I'll pay and everything, and about it's almost always like 3 to 5 days later I'll get a message and they're like, hey, this color isn't available, could you pick a different color? Sometimes they'll be selling this fabric on their website, but also they have like a walk-in store, and I believe some sellers have the same stock for the website and the walk-in store. So the stock or quantity available only updates when someone buys it online, but it doesn't update when someone buys it in real life. So just keep that in mind. One thing that I have learned the hard way to do is to message sellers before buying and ask them if it's available. One thing that is the most annoying thing I have to say about AliExpress is the search engine is the most inaccurate thing ever. Since I started going on AliExpress, I have never entered something in their search engine and found what I was looking for. The way that website works, or the way the search engine works, is you'll enter something. I can enter like cotton fabric. Yes, we've established that's not a thing. Cotton fabric, and it will give me every single thing made out of cotton fabric. Shoes, pillowcases, curtains. The more specific you are with your search, the less specific the results are. Like if you entered cotton fabric by the yard, that entails that this is actual material that we're buying and not shoes. You get less results that are related to cotton fabric. You start getting like watches. It's so confusing. If they don't put by the yard and you enter by the yard when you're searching for fabric, their result doesn't show, even though that's what you I've also learned to never actually be looking for something specific. Whether I'm shopping on Aliexpress, Etsy, eBay, Land of O, Mood Fabrics, Fabric Direct, I'm never looking for something specific. When you are looking for something specific, you tend to skim. So because your brain works really fast, you like glance at it for like 5 milliseconds and your brain already registers that's not what you're looking for, so you don't pay close attention to it, so you just skip over a lot of things until you find that specific thing you're looking for. I have learned that for me, sourcing fabric online, that is the incorrect thing to do. I never skim. I'm never looking for something specific. I enter whatever general fabric I'm looking for in the search engine, and I look at every single result that I get, because I have learned that every fabric I have ever found on any platform, even Etsy, I have found by complete accident. I have found because I wasn't looking for it, and now I found it. I didn't know I needed it, and now I do, and now I have it. Shopping online can be really sketchy because unlike going into like a warehouse or a fabric expo or something, there's no way for you to know every single specific detail about where that fabric is coming from, how it was manufactured, the situation in which it was manufactured, the conditions of the working environment, the condition of the people, or the people getting paid fairly for the work that they're doing. Anything you could possibly want to know about that fabric, you can only get that information from the seller unless you have another. I tend to buy from people who have their own facilities, who are manufacturer direct, meaning they make the fabrics and then they sell it. It means that the fabric will more than likely be cheaper because it's coming from them, and you know that the more a fabric goes through people, the more expensive it gets, because each person adds like a little to the price. When you get your fabric directly from people who make it, it's the cheapest it can be. I remember one time, in one night I exchanged 86 messages with this seller because I was trying to source some fabric from them. 86 messages over the course of like 4 or 5 hours or so. One thing that I absolutely adore, I love, I value so much about moodfabrics.com is the fact that they have videos of their fabrics, of some of their fabrics. Aliexpress also has this, but their videos are more the fabric laid out flat and they just like film it. But Mood Fabrics, they have this lady, I don't remember her name, but she like actually has the fabric in her hand, she holds it, she moves it, you can see how it like flows, if it's like flowy or kind of like stiff, and she's like interacting with it as if you were the person sitting there in your sewing room interacting with the fabric. I love that so much. Mood Fabrics offers samples. Also, for Aliexpress, don't be afraid to ask for samples. It'll take a while. The smaller the package is, the more likely it's gonna get lost. So asking for samples from sellers that are based in overseas can be a little, but don't be afraid to do it. But Mood Fabrics, you can order samples, which I really like, and I guess some sellers on Etsy would do that too. I've really only purchased French terry, cotton French terry from them, but I really love the quality of their fabric. They're so nice. We exchanged some messages when I was buying fabrics from them. Ten out of 10 would recommend. I give them a 10 for Land of O. And they have natural fabrics too, so you don't, I don't think they have like polyester, any synthetic fabrics. It's all like linen or cotton, I believe, or yeah. So 10 out of 10 would recommend that. Those are really the only places that I get my fabrics from. Etsy is a great place. I really do think it's a one-stop shop. It's a great place to start. If you're trying to source fabric online, you can get anything on there. I would rate it like a 8 out of 10. Aliexpress, fantastic. So many problems, but honestly, if you take the time to work through that freaking website, you can find some really great stuff on there. I would rate it like a 6.8. A 6.8. Really quickly, every time I talk about this topic, for some awful reason, I delete it out of the video. Sustainability versus low impact. You cannot be sustainable if you are a clothing brand. If you are producing something, you are not sustainable. I'm just saying, do not get angry at me. I am just stating facts. You cannot be sustainable if you are producing stuff. If you are putting something into the world, not sustainable. In some way, shape, or form, you are affecting the environment. The only way to actually be sustainable is to not make anything at all. It's really difficult to be sustainable. You could use sustainable fabrics, but there are other things that play into this. I would say the better title would be low impact, meaning you are aware that you are still affecting the universe. You're aware that you're still affecting the earth. You're doing your absolute best to make sure that your carbon footprint is like this small. It's like invertedly small. This is a long process. It takes a while for this. There are certain fabrics that I have taken, that took me years, dude, years to source online. This one right here, I messaged the seller and I was like, hey, is this gonna come back anytime soon? And they were like, yeah, it will. When it comes back, we'll message you. And I was like, they're not gonna freaking message me. 2 years. 2 years later, they messaged me and they're like, hey, it's back in stock. Listen, build that relationship with your sellers, my friends. Build a relationship. I was able to get this fabric one time. This is the burgundy wine color, but I'm talking about the royal blue. I was able to get the royal blue one time and then it's sold out and it has just never been back. Actually, this one seller has it, but they're selling it for like $95 and I'm like, huh? What? 95 what? Where? For who? You decrease. I took a picture of the blue fabric and I sent it to 13 different sellers. One of them messaged me and was like, yeah, I have it. We talked and talked and talked. I was so happy to get this fabric. I was so freaking pumped. And then everything shut down because of Miss Roro and I couldn't get it anymore. Have fun with the process. Sourcing fabric is fun. It can be fun. It's a great way to start building relationships with manufacturers that manufacture fabric, not like would manufacture your clothes, although some people might manufacture your clothes. Realistically, when the seller ships your item, it is no longer their problem. It's now in the system, the USPS, UPS, DHL system. If that package is lost, it's not the seller's fault. I have seen some times where I've seen reviews on sellers' pages where customers get really upset at the seller because they never received their package. And I'm like, nah, dude, they shipped your package. Just because you didn't receive it doesn't mean it's the seller's fault. It's just, I've seen a lot of people getting upset as sellers for not getting their packages. And I'm like, the seller shipped your package, dude. You just didn't get it, but it's not their fault. One thing I want to mention is if you have the ability to buy all your fabric from one seller, do it. What I mean is, if you shop around and you find one seller who's selling something for $40, but you find another seller who's selling it for $37, if you are already buying a bunch of fabric from this seller, just buy that $40 fabric from this seller instead of getting it for cheaper, $3 less from this seller. Why? Because of your carbon footprint. If you buy the fabric that's $40 over here, plus the other fabric you're going to buy, instead of buying the fabric that was $37 over here, now you only have one seller shipping you stuff. as opposed to having this seller ship you stuff from his store, and then you bought that fabric from this store for $37, and now you also have this seller shipping you something from their store. Now you have two people, that's two planes, two trains, two cars, two ships, two sets of everything trying to get that package to you, whereas you could have just purchased the fabric for $3 more from this seller and have one person send you out stuff as opposed to two people send you out stuff. So that's like a way to lessen your carbon footprint. Here are the 3 different types of fabrics that I purchase. I purchase fabrics that have no pattern, just color, whether the color is the absence of color, because black is not a color, or it's red or whatever, just solid color. The next level of fabric that I buy is something like this that has texture, the texture coming from the fact that it has some kind of pattern, print, design going on it. The third level is texture that you can actually feel. Like this one has some kind of distressing on it, so you can feel the texture of it. When I buy fabrics, I look for texture. If there are any other tips, odds are I place them in like cards here and there, but that's how I source fabric online. Those are the websites that I buy my fabric from. If you're looking for a place to go to source fabric because you can't travel because you're a broke college student like me, those are the places I like to go to. Those are the pros and cons of the places. I don't know if there are actually any tips in this video for you, but those are just generally what I do.